So as I said, the topic for today's webinar would be test automation. And along with test automation, we'll also learn some advanced concept of DevOps, which are really, really helpful nowadays. Okay, so nowadays, all the companies who are moving to cloud or who are moving to advanced tools and technologies, they always go for agile and DevOps methodologies. So for that matter, somebody who is already working in QA or who want to be part of QA community, they just don't know DevOps, then this is the right platform wherein you can learn both test automation and DevOps. Okay, so let me start with the table of content, or I can say the agenda for today's webinar. So we'll start. So today's agenda for the webinar would be introduction for the webinar, followed by having the overview of the software testing, how actually we deal with the softwares and how we do the software testing around all the applications and whatever Android, iOS, or maybe web application, what we see around, we will learn about the software testing. So this would be the next part of it. And followed by we'll know basic fundamentals of software testing. We'll see how many types of testing we have within the types, how many subtypes we have. And once we start the testing, what and all we can automate, what we cannot automate, and when we should automate, all those things we'll be conducting in this session. Once we know that, we'll have a simple demo. We'll have a case study of automating one of the social networking website, wherein we'll have some Java coding. We'll start with the actual coding and we'll see that if a human does the testing and if a machine does the testing, how is it different from each other? And once we write the code, we'll be pushing this code to the GitHub repository, which is nothing but the central repository. Nowadays, all the companies which are using that. And we'll try to learn how to run any test cases from command prompt. And also we can run the same from the Jenkins. So all these things will be very, very interesting. I request all of you to just pay attention over the next few minutes of this course. And at the end, I'll talk about the current trends which are there in the testing world and what are the career paths and what all opportunities you have when you start doing the test automation in DevOps. Okay, so let's start with testing. Actually, what is software testing? It's as you know, we are surrounded by a lot of softwares, and nowadays every company is going for the digital solution for their product and the services they are selling. So since we are surrounded by a lot of softwares and every day we are getting a lot of new features and other enhancement in the software, it becomes very, very easy that if we test the software and then deliver it to the end customers. So I can say that software testing is a process of evaluating the software, and we can make sure that it satisfies all the intended behavior. So when we start doing the testing, we should know that what we have to test and how we need to test. Until and unless we deliver the software without testing, it will not make the intended behavior. So it is very important that when we deliver something to the end customers, we thoroughly test it and then we deliver it. So we can say that it is kind of a pre-check, and wherein we can say that all the software tools and technologies what we have, we are making sure that with those tools and technologies, we are testing all the features of our application, and then we are delivering it to the customers. Testing is also performed in order to identify any gaps, as in if we are trying to deliver something and if we are not able to meet that, we can find those gaps. We can also find the unexpected errors or missing features or any kind of contradictory statements what our product owners are looking for, and they are not able to meet that. So for that matter, we always do the testing, right? So this course will give you the basic fundamentals of types of testing, what all methods we use it, and other terminologies. So as I said, the IT industry, mainly in the large companies, they have a lot of teams and they have a lot of responsibilities. So over the period of time, the feature of the software grows, and we should make sure that our product is working what it has supposed to do, right? So in typical IT company, where we have the large project, we have different roles in the company. We'll have a tester, we'll have a developer, we'll have a project lead, we'll have a manager, and also we'll have some other roles like product owners or maybe business analyst and so on and so forth, right? So in this typical environment, our job would be to take the role of tester, and any place when you go to the company, you would be given a name as tester or maybe quality assurance or maybe quality analyst. All those things are part of tester community. So this names will be hearing by you if you are opting this career path. And after that, once you are in the company and you are assigned the software QA testing role, so these are the types of testing which we are supposed to do. Start from the beginning. If some code is delivered by a developer, or maybe developer can also do the unit testing, and sometimes they also ask the QA tester to perform the unit testing. So unit testing is nothing but testing our software as a very, very minute level. So we will go to the each and every line of our code and we'll see that the code coverage is perfect. The boundary line, or you can say all the positive and negative scenarios are tested. Everything will be covered in the unit testing. Now, once we do the unit testing, all the small components are tested at the granular level. We will integrate all the small components as a large system. So you can say that end-to-end testing will be performed in the integration testing part, right? So once unit testing and integration testing are done, will be doing the validation testing. So this will be done by the UAT tester, or you can say that user acceptance tester will be hired by the company who are very, very expert in that domain, and they will do the validation testing, which will be above our QA testers role. So this is again a new role, kind of a UAT tester. They will be doing the validation testing, right? After that, once all the features are delivered, mainly we do the regression testing. So regression testing is nothing but when you deliver a new feature, there might be chances that your code which has been written newly will impact your old code, or maybe any legacy code which is there in the system. So you should make sure that if you are delivering any new feature, you are also testing the old feature which are there in the system. Until and unless they are compatible with the new feature, there is no point of delivering the new features, right? So that's the reason we perform the regression testing. And regression testing also, after that, we do the regression testing. We kind of do alpha testing and beta testing. So which are nothing but, before delivering to the end customer, we sometimes give it to the, small group of people, and we ask them if you can test this feature if it is running. So many people opt for becoming alpha tester. And, for some point in time, they will do the alpha testing and they will release the product to the small group of those people as a beta tester, right? So all these two are alpha and beta are special kind of testing. We will ask end user only, but they will be certified users who are part of the small community. So regression testing, alpha testing, and beta testing, this all are part of validation testing. And also, as I said, acceptance testing will be done by those people who are expert, and they will make sure that everything is tested perfectly. Now, as I said, this all are the type of testing. Okay, so in any industry, there are two ways in which we can do the testing. So one way would be the doing testing you with the use of manual testing concepts, and another way is doing with the automation testing concepts. So mainly the QA world is divided into these two streams. There is no line between these two roles, but if you are using any automated or any software to test your application, that would be your automated way of doing the testing. And if you don't have any such tool, or if you don't have any such budget in your project, so mainly you will do the manual testing. So what is manual testing? So all these types of testing which I have mentioned here, we will do it with a human eye. So as a user, you'll open your application, or maybe you'll open your Android or iOS app or whatever you have on your mobile. So you will just open it and you will test each and every feature manually with your human eye. So as I said, manual testing is a type of testing which doesn't require any kind of external tool and languages. And many times companies who don't have budget or who don't have particular skill set, they opt for the manual testing. Usually it involves creating the test plan. So there you will create the test plan, test cases, then you will write the test scenarios, and you will make sure that each and every scenarios are handled in your test scenario metrics document. And then you will ask your manual testing team to perform the testing. So here testers also perform the exploratory testing, wherein you don't have a plan as such in your mind, but still you keep opening your application with your human intelligence, or with your advanced knowledge or your expertise, you will search a defect which is not part of the test plan. So that is also possible, and that is the advantage of doing manual testing, wherein your human brain will do the testing. If you are not supposed to do any kind of testing, still with your intelligence you can do exploratory testing, so which is not possible in the automation testing. So once you decide that you are doing manual testing, maybe after some point in time, let's say 1 year, 2 year, when your application grows on, your code grows on, then you will not get enough time and enough bandwidth to perform manual testing for each and every flow, right? So in a typical company, a day of an engineer will look like this. When you log into your system, you'll be asked to do your day-to-day work, which are, part of new features. You will be asked to do the testing on the new feature. And also at the same time, you'll be asked to perform the testing which are already been delivered as a previous releases. So nowadays companies are going with the concept of agile testing, wherein we'll have a sprint testing, which we do it in each sprint. And at the same time, we are also been asked to do the regression testing for the previous sprint. So if you are a tester and you don't have time, it becomes really, really difficult to match your bandwidth, because everybody will have a limited number of hours to work with. If you keep on doing your manual testing, you will not get enough time to perform any other task. So in that way, there will be a time where your company will decide that let's do the automation. So we should know what is automation testing first of all, right? So automated way of testing is nothing but you will use some external tool or maybe external languages in which you will write your same test scenario, test matrix, and then you will write your maybe Java code, C# code, Python code, and you will start creating the scenario in an automated way. So if I talk about automation testing, which is also known as test automation, is done when the tester writes the script and use another software to test the product, right? So this process involves automation of manual processes, and automation testing is used to rerun the test scenarios that were performed manually. So we will get a quick and rapid results. So this is how we actually do the automation testing, right? So when you start doing automation testing, you should answer some of the questions like, what should be automated, what should not be automated, and when you should automate. Once you answer all these questions, the scenario will look like this. On the left side, if you see, manual tester will keep on doing the testing, and they will not get enough time to perform any advanced things, or maybe they cannot perform any kind of things which are really they aspiring for. But if you do automated way of testing, definitely you will not be occupied that much. So you just will rely on your tool. We will do the testing on the automated way, and in the free time you can do other stuffs which in the first case will not be possible. So as I said, everything what you see on your application will never be automated. Once you decide that you are going for the automation, you should answer this question that what can be automated. So in a typical application, which is very, very complex, like a banking application, or maybe you're testing any kind of application which deals with e-commerce website, wherein you need to sell the product, you need to do the payment and everything, right? So some of the cases would be very difficult to automate, and you should answer this question. Is it really, really beneficial if you are doing the automation? There are some scenarios which will be automated only, for one-time testing or two-time testing. So that is really not the candidate for the automation testing. You should always identify the test cases which are more relevant to the regression cases, or maybe you will rerun that again and again. So those kind of testing will become part of your automation regression suite. So you should answer this question, and you should avoid, automating the cases which are highly dynamic in nature, and you cannot find the element on the web page, or maybe you see a lot of dependency on the external systems and all those things which will be making your life difficult. So those kind of test cases you should not automate it. Once you know that, you should also answer when we should automate it. So, in large and critical projects where you have a lot of, dollar involved or money involved in your project, or if you miss any kind of defect, it will become a loss to your company. In that case, you should always go for automation. Project that requires testing very frequently, right? So as I said, if you want to go for agile, you will be having 1 week or 2 weeks. So every time you open your mobile app, you're seeing a lot of updates are coming in nowadays. That is because of the agile world. Every week we are getting new releases. So we need to test our code more and more frequently. In that case, we should go for automation. Then if your requirements are not changing that frequently, you should go for the automation. And when accessing the application for load or performance. So this is again another kind of a testing which we do after we do the integration testing. So if you want to test your application with multiple users or thousands of users coming in and hitting your website, and that time you want to see your performance and all those things, that time you should use JMeter or any other tool which are there in the market for this testing. So now, since we answered this question, again, availability of the time, if you have less time, you should always automate it. And if you have stable software, always go for the automation. The advantages of doing automation is it's faster, it's high reliable, and it is having wider range of coverage. It ensures the consistency. It also saves your time and cost. It improves the accuracy. Sometimes human brain makes the mistake, but machine will never make the mistake. And it also requires less human intervention, and it increases your efficiency, better speed, and also reusability. All these things are possible when you go for the test automation. Test frequency and thoroughly, you can test each and every line and anything that you have made as a script in your Selenium or any other tool. So that will thoroughly test each and every part of your software code. Okay, so these are some of the advantages. What all tools are available in the market? If I talk about, Selenium is the most popular tool in the market, which doesn't require any kind of license or anything. You can use the Selenium tool with any language of your choice. And we have tools like Micro Focus UFT, we have Tricentis Tosca, we have IBM Rational Functional Tester, we also have Self-Test, Test Complete, Testing Anywhere, and nowadays there are RPA tools like Automation Anywhere and UiPath and so on and so forth. So these are just a limited number of tools which I have mentioned, but there are other tools as well which are not so popular, but people are opting for that also. In this webinar, we'll be mainly focusing on Selenium, which is, again, I said, there's no license required. The only prerequisite would be knowing the Java tool. Let's talk about Selenium a bit, and we'll quickly jump into the demo part. So how Selenium works. So let me give the quick introduction of Selenium, how it works. So Selenium is a entire family of suites. If you talk about Selenium, right? So it's a part of four things. One is your Selenium IDE, second is your Selenium RC, and third is your Selenium WebDriver, and fourth is your Selenium Grid. So IDE is nothing but when you want to record and playback. That time you use Selenium ID, you can install this plugin in your Chrome or Firefox browser, and you can quickly automate any flow. Followed by, we have something called remote control and WebDriver. So they are merged into a final version called Selenium 3. Earlier it was a Selenium RC. Now they have merged into the Selenium WebDriver itself. So WebDriver is nothing but an interface which has been created by Selenium, and whosoever wants to automate this, they can create the object of this WebDriver, and they can start using the Chrome driver or Firefox driver and so on and so forth with this WebDriver. So what is the architecture of it? That we'll see in the next slide, but just focus on the Selenium WebDriver as of now, which will be the part of today's webinar. We'll be focusing on that. And at the end, we have something called Selenium Grid. So if you have multiple machines, if you have infrastructure, if you have cloud or any kind of setup you have in your company, you can go for Selenium Grid, wherein at the single click, your test case will run in a distributed environment on a multiple machine. So if 100 test cases are taking 100 minutes to run, and if you run this 100 test cases on 10 different machines, so your time will be saved. You will save a lot of your bandwidth, and all of these test cases will be running on the grid, and you will get the result in lesser amount of time. So that's the reason we have something called Selenium Grid. Okay. And talking about the architecture, this is how a particular Selenium WebDriver architecture will look like. So we have something called client library based on the language you choose, maybe Ruby, Python, Java. You can download this Selenium client library and you can add those jars into your Eclipse. So we'll talk about Eclipse and Java in the demo session. Once you download this jar files, they actually call the JSON wire protocol, and this library files, with the help of JSON wire protocol, they will talk to browser driver. So browser driver are nothing but the exe file which has been delivered by the company who is manufacturing the browser. So for Chrome, we have Chrome driver. Firefox, we have now we have for Firefox, we have Gecko driver. For IE also, we have separate driver. Windows, we have separate drivers. All these drivers will talk to the Selenium client library, and they will internally interact with the browser. So your job would be downloading the client library and downloading the browser driver from their website, and then start writing this code. Once you start writing this code based on the version of your browser, it internally driver will take care of the commands. So when we will start writing the code, you will understand more. But this is how typically architecture will look like. You should be worrying about having the right client library and the right driver on your machine. So as I already spoke, client libraries are based on the language you choose. then the JSON wire protocol, and at the end we have the browser drivers. So for each of the company who are manufacturing this browser, they also need to provide the driver for that particular version. Okay, so let's have a quick demo on this. I'll open my Eclipse IDE and we'll be trying to automate one flow for the login to the Facebook website. Okay, so let me go to the website first and show you how it looks like.